Good morning, everyone. Straight up 9 o'clock on this Friday morning. So glad you're tuning in to watch. I'm Jason Harper.
And I'm Ann Wyatt Little.
I'm Julian Sidori. I'm meteorologist Ted Faden here, who is tracking another summer-like day. Ted, we can't escape this pattern that we've been stuck in.
We're locked in here. We're seeing those highs near 90 degrees, the afternoon showers and storms. This is the summer-like pattern that's going to last really into the weekend and next week. It's pretty much par for the course.
Well, some of them were strong yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, we had some of those kind of pack a punch. Shelby had a couple down trees, and that's what we're kind of watching for the threat that comes with some of these storms. They can lead to some gusty winds and damaging winds, and of course that lightning, also something that you're probably going to be hearing and seeing in terms of the peak heating hours of the day. Taking a look over our Hyatt Place uptown camera showing the partly cloudy skies over the Queen City. Look to see a mix of sun and clouds today. We are going to be warm and muggy to start, a little bit on the hot side later on. Satellite and radar still mostly dry, mostly clear, and again, seeing the passing cloud cover continuing to impact your day. Zooming out, we still have those storms up towards Kentucky and more in that increased moisture heading towards the Tennessee border. A medium risk for that flood in the flooding in the yellow, which could be the result of some heavy downpours. We have more of that low risk in the green, which is in the foothills of North Carolina. For your drought conditions, abnormally dry. Yellow is indicated towards the east, towards Raleigh. Still a little bit of a moderate drought south of Raleigh as well. We keep our rain chances relatively low, only about 20 to 30% chance throughout the day. And of course, we'll stay more dry than wet. And we'll talk temperatures here coming up in the next 5 minutes. Jason and Ann Wyatt.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Ted. Interstate travel, as we take a look at your traffic today, it's looking pretty good as we wrap up this Friday morning commute. North and South Carolina DOT cams showing moving full speed ahead on I-77, anywhere between Rock Hill and Lake Norman. I-85 is clear near the airport exits and through the university area. You can see here on our speed map that the heaviest traffic of the morning has already thinned out on most of the major roadways. That's good. We do have a closure still to warn you about on the west side of Uptown. Wilkinson Boulevard closed at Morris Field Drive, and we've got a live look at the scene here. The reason it's closed is because there was a wreck earlier. They had these utility crews had to restring the wires. They've been down all morning. Now, I don't see them down right now, which is good news. They've been working on this all morning long. Both sides are closed until further notice. So if you normally use Wilkinson to get to the airport from Uptown, you're going to need to use alternate routes. You can always follow along on Twitter. Just go to QCN Traffic. 90 Charlotte area transit system bus drivers are off today after calling out sick. The run of dozens of drivers calling out began back in June, with absences varying anywhere between 80 to 100 on weekdays. CAT's CEO says much of the blame is the drivers' labor deal. John Lewis says the current deal allows large numbers of so-called unplanned absences. Unfilled bus operator positions, that's not helping. CATS now has daily delays with longer-term route changes beginning August 15th. Flight disruptions are keeping airline passengers stuck on the ground. At last check, 63 flights through Charlotte Douglas are canceled. At least 49 more are delayed as we're looking at the flight board now. Yesterday, 401 flights were delayed. 89 were canceled. Stormy weather disrupted yesterday's schedule, and planes and crews still out of place are complicating today's plans. Officials encourage passengers to check with their airline before going to the airport.
Charlotte-Mecklenburg police are investigating a deadly early morning shooting in the University City area. It happened around 1:30 this morning in an apartment complex along W.T. Harris Boulevard at Old Concord Road. Neighbors heard gunshots and called 911. When they got there, police say they found the victim dead. We are working to find out what led to the shooting. We're following breaking economic news this morning and an upbeat report on the U.S. economy. Labor Department analysts say the unemployment rate fell last month to 3.5%. It was 3.6% in June. They say employers added a surprising 528,000 workers to their payrolls in July, and many economists believe low unemployment is a factor in keeping the nation from going into a recession. They were only expecting a hiring increase of 250,000 workers. We'll check in with Jane King to see how investors are reacting to this report out coming up in about 25 minutes.
Members of the U.S. Coast Guard are in their 108th year of protecting and patrolling America's waterways.
Their mission goes from coast to coast, to the nation's rivers and lakes, and to international waters. But Coast Guard commanders are facing a growing problem.
The number of men and women serving in the Guard are not meeting the numbers needed to carry out their duties.
Alex Capriello reports on this side of the labor shortage and what it means to this branch of the military.
People live and sleep in these guys right here.
There's still a sense of excitement within Ensign Austin Tuomi, a new officer aboard the Hollybach of the U.S. Coast Guard.
Wanted to join something that had a direct impact on the community.
Unfortunately, military officials are having trouble capturing that same enthusiasm within American youth. The Coast Guard is projecting to be 1,000 openings shy of fulfilling their goal of 4,000 guardsmen this year.
I don't envy anyone in a recruiting station trying to recruit for any of the military branches right now.
National security experts say approximately 75% of young Americans aren't physically able to serve. The population has become stagnant amid the pandemic, and obesity is an ongoing problem. Of those who are physically fit, only about 11% even have a desire to enlist.
If it's really hard to get you to work at a high-paying job where you might not get shot at, then it's probably going to be even harder to get you to work at a lower-paying job where you actually might get shot at.
Even still, experts say the Coast Guard is doing better than other military branches. At this point in the year, the U.S. Army has only met 40% of its recruiting goal.
And that was Alex Capriello reporting. Revenue Marine was the predecessor of the U.S. Coast Guard, founded in 1790 by Alexander Hamilton. It's under the peacetime authority of the Homeland Security Department. During war, it can be moved to the Defense Department.
Coast Guard missions range from rescues to icebreaking to fighting pirates off Somalia's coast to stopping drug shipments in the Caribbean. It is coming up on 9:07, and we are ready for Friday. We're ready for the weekend, Ted.
Yeah, we certainly are. Taking a look, 77 degrees, warming up this morning. Wind still coming out of the south-southwest, 6 miles per hour. Those dew points, though, take a look. 74 degrees. That's muggy out there, folks. It's going to be hot and humid as we get into the afternoon. 77 for Charlotte. Monroe at 78. We're already at 80 degrees for Wadesboro. Upper 60s for Boone and Jefferson. Those dew points are not too far off as they are still getting into the upper 60s and mid-70s. Now, that is just simply, if you remember, our muggy meter tops out at 70 degrees. Anything above that's oppressive. All the fog from this morning's burned off with the exception of Morganton at about 2.5 miles visibility. Highs will peak near 90 degrees with hot and humid conditions. Winds coming out of the south 3 to 6 miles per hour and a chance of those afternoon and evening storms. We'll talk about the timing coming up in the next 10 minutes. Jason and Ann White.
All right, thanks, Ted. Queen City News is following the latest news from the war in Ukraine. Supplies are being allowed to move through Ukraine, but Russian forces are continuing with their offensive.
Julian has the changes and the concerns coming out of Europe.
That's right. More grain is leaving Ukraine and heading to countries in need. Ukraine is one of the breadbasket nations in Europe, meaning it's one of the world's top grain producers, feeding millions in Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. The first ship carrying grain from Ukraine left the port earlier this week. 3 more vessels left the ports earlier this morning, heading to Turkey for inspections. Despite the agreement in place for those ships to leave, tensions are still high between Russia and Ukraine. So far, Ukrainian officials have raised $20 million to boost their drone capabilities. Those drones can be used to attack Russian forces and help Ukrainian soldiers in combat. Other aerial means of attack are also headed to Kyiv forces' hands. A Charlotte reporter from our radio partners at WPT is currently meeting with people in the war-torn country. Brett Jensen is in Kyiv. He spoke with people who didn't leave their country and feel like they have to stay there.
Everyone knows the stories of the soldiers. Everyone knows the story of all the politicians. Well, what about the expats or people that have family ties back to Charlotte and in North Carolina? I'm fascinated by the stories that are going on here.
And we have that full interview and the latest information on the war on our website. That's qcnews.com. Jason?
President Biden is preparing to sign 2 bipartisan bills surrounding fraud during the pandemic. The bills will hold people who committed fraud under the COVID Small Business Relief Program accountable. Small businesses were given relief from the White House to help stop them from shutting down. The bill signing will start at 1. Coming up on 9:35 now, South Carolina shoppers are getting the chance to save some cash.
Julian is here with his pen and notepad, ready to talk about tax-free weekend, Julian.
That's right. 19 states are currently observing the tax-free holidays. North Carolina isn't one of them, but surrounding states like Virginia, Tennessee, and South Carolina are. Now, here's the thing. North Carolina General Assembly lawmakers, they made the decision to end a tax-free holiday in 2013. It was part of a broader tax reform package, and they argued families benefited more from income tax since then. Democrats tried this year to revive the sales tax holiday, pointing out the state had a surplus of about $6 billion. Instead, it was decided that they would put billions of dollars into reserves, citing the uncertainty in the economy. Now, South Carolina is one of the only states that doesn't have a price cap on items considered tax-free. But in South Carolina, the items are meant to be things that help kids get ready for the school year, and that can include school supplies, clothes, and some items of technology. Now, guys, each state has different items that can be considered tax-free, so I want to quiz you on what items are tax-free and which ones are not. So I'm going to start really simple here, okay? We'll start going from items from each state, and you guys tell me yes or no if it's going to be tax-free. Okay, we're going to start here. A new car, would that be considered tax-free?
No.
I would think not.
No?
Not
Okay.
at all. All 50 states. Not at all.
Okay, you are correct. Cars are not considered tax-free. Okay, if you can't get a new car, how about a new computer, laptop, something like that? What do we think?
I would think so,
Yes.
that you could, yes.
Okay, 2 for 2. So far, you guys are doing well. Some states do have price limits. South Carolina, again, not one of those states, but you cannot buy a computer or software for commercial purposes. It has to be for school. All right, we're going to get a little bit harder now. What about those musical instruments, a guitar, maybe a trumpet, something like that? What do we think?
I mean, if it's for education, I would think it would.
Okay, Jason's a yes,
Yeah.
and Wyatt?
I don't know.
That's not an answer. Come on.
Band wasn't my thing in the 5th grade.
Okay, so is that a yes or no, Ann Wyatt? She doesn't want to be wrong. Go yes.
Yes.
Yeah. See, and Jason did not lead you down the wrong path. They are considered tax-free. South Carolina and a few other states consider instruments used in band or orchestra to be a school supply. So good guess there, Jason. All right, let's close this one out here. Okay, this is a tricky one. Chainsaw. What? Chainsaw. What do you think? A chainsaw.
I mean, if you're in woodshop class, would that be a tool, maybe?
Maybe. I
don't
can't
know.
give you the answer yet. What do you
Okay.
think? Don't cheat by looking at the script, Ann Wyatt. Don't you cheat. Look at me.
I don't
Eyes
know.
right here.
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I mean, I'd say no.
You wouldn't think that this would help a kid in class, but
You wouldn't think, but in one state, they actually are considered tax-free because during tax-free weekend, people living in Virginia can get all emergency weather materials tax-free as well, and that includes portable generators, other emergency supplies, and a chainsaw.
oh, that's good to know.
There you go.
So
So
if
not
I-
for woodshop, but for emergency
If
supplies.
I want a chainsaw,
Well,
I'm
it
going
can
to
get
Virginia.
expensive, kind of getting prepared for an emergency.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about the new outlook, the hurricane outlook, still projecting to have a lot of hurricanes there. Ted did that great interview. So, you know,
Right.
those trees come down with the heavy wind and rain. So a chainsaw would help you in that situation. So would a generator.
Well, thank you for going through that list. We've got a
Fascinating.
full
My
list
pleasure.
at qcnews.com for some of those items we didn't
Yeah.
get to.
By the way, I think we were 4-0. Yeah. Nicely done on
Thanks
that.
to
Thank
your
you,
assist.
Julian.
I didn't know about chainsaws. There you go. Line 43. You're looking there at Bank of America Stadium, home of the Panthers there, although they are down 85 in Spartanburg. But Queen City News is proud to be the new home of the Panthers. The Cardiac Cats are finishing up this week of training camp.
And tonight, the Black and Blue will be helping honor the legend Sam Mills as he enters the Hall of Fame. Queen City News sports reporter Grace Grills is joining us now from Wofford College down in Spartanburg. This is a big event, Grace.
This is a big deal. Anytime a player is inducted into the Hall of Fame, that's the pinnacle, right, of your career, is to have that bronze bust staying there in NFL history for forever, basically. And it's so special because Sam Mills was a player that means so much to this organization, even past him being here. But, you know, they wear the "keep pounding" on their jerseys. It's their mantra. You see it everywhere. It's here at training camp. Fans are in on it. It's literally become the heartbeat of this franchise and of Charlotte. And it's exciting to see him be honored in this way.
Grace, as far as camp is concerned, what are we working on for today? Who do you expect to talk to?
Well, we won't know officially until after practice who they make available, but we have some knowledge that there's going to be some exciting players to talk about today. So, of course, we're following the QB battle. That is still the main topic of discussion. When will they stop splitting those reps with the one? It's Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield currently splitting days on, days off with the ones and the twos. So we're hoping that maybe there's some progress there because eventually they got to name a starter, right? You got to be more consistent with your reps. Another guy we're looking at for starting reps is Ike Ekwonu, right? They drafted him in the first round this year, and he still has yet to go with the one. So we're going to see his progress as well, and the intensity keeps picking up because we're getting closer and closer to that first preseason game, and it's exciting.
Yeah, we are. And FanFest is next week, and all this is just building on top week after week, so we're excited for it. Grace, thank you so much. Appreciate that. We'll talk to you later.
Of course, the Crown heading back to the pitch this weekend. Charlotte FC will have another home match, this time hosting Chicago Fire. Charlotte is currently in 7th place in the Eastern Conference standings, barely holding on to a chance to make playoffs. Chicago is sitting in 10th, but is still only 3 points away from overtaking the black and blue, and they could get all 3 of those points if they win this weekend. That match kicks off tomorrow at 7. South Carolina's back-to-school tax-free shopping spree begins today. Shoppers will not have to pay sales tax on eligible items such as computers, clothes, and school supplies. The annual tax holiday runs through Sunday. And also, Ted Payton told me you can get a wedding dress tax-free in South Carolina as well for this week. And please tune in this Sunday for the Panther Huddle training camp at 11:30. The show is produced by Carolina Panthers Network. That's 11:30 p.m. It airs right after our Sunday night edition of Charlotte Sports Live. As far as our weather, though, Ted, how are we looking?
Yeah, it's going to be a summer-like pattern, locked in place. Highs near 90 degrees, which is normal for this time of year. Overnight lows in the 70s. Today will be right near 90 with those afternoon shower and storm chances. That lasts all weekend long into next week. So just keep that pinpoint weather app handy. That way you get alerts on watches and warnings in the area and when lightning or storms are detected near you.
All right, enjoy the weekend. It is National Beer Day, which we mentioned earlier, so be responsible.
Yes.
Have an adult beverage, relax this weekend, and we appreciate you watching Queen City News Now. It's Friday, y'all.
It is.